Okay, we are working from the Advanced 2 textbook. So if you're in 7 Excel, we are working from the Advanced 2 textbook. If you are in Math 8, this is not in your textbook, but you do have access to it through Big Ideas Online, and the pages are linked to the agenda, okay? So we are working from the Advanced 2 textbook. We are doing lesson 14.4, volume of prisms. And it can be found on pages 610 and 611. Okay. Volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. The area of the base times the height. And there's not one formula for this because the bases can be different shapes. We can have a rectangular base, a triangular base, a pentagon base, a hexagon base. And the formula for finding the area of those is all different. So we don't have a single formula for volume. It's just the area of the base times the height. So what are the things that we need to know? Well, we need to know how to find the area of a rectangle. The area of a rectangle is equal to the length times the width. And we also need to know how to find the area of a triangle. The area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So we're going to find the area of the bases and then multiply that by the height. So let's start with a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism. I got to draw this thing. Okay. Not too bad. So here's my rectangular prism. And remember, a prism has 2 bases, 2 congruent bases, one on the top and one on the bottom. And they're giving me the measurements of 6 yards, 8 yards, and 15 yards. So when I look at this, I can see that my base is a rectangle. The base is a rectangle. And my measurements are 6 yards by 8 yards. So this is my base. It's a rectangle. And my measurements are 6 yards by 8 yards. So the first thing I need to do is find the area of the base. I need to find the area of the base. And in this case, my base is a rectangle. So the area is the length times the width. So it's 6 times 8. So the area of my base is 48 yards squared. So we figured out the area of this base. This base is 48 yards. So the base down here is 48 yards. Now we have 15 of these bases, 15 of the bases, because it's 15 yards going up. So we have 15 of these bases stacked on top of each other. So it's a multiplication problem. So the volume is equal to the base times the height. This is my base, 48, and I've got 15 of the bases stacked on top of each other. So the volume, I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator, is 720 yards cubed. And we get yards cubed because this here is yards squared, and this is yards. Look, yards squared plus yards is yards cubed. So I know in the past you've heard it's length times width times height. Now for a rectangular prism, that is true. It is length times width times height. That's correct. But that's not true for a triangular prism. So it's best to think of volume as the base times the height. Because next, let's do a triangular prism. And I will show you how this is different. So let's do a triangular prism. Okay, so this is a triangular prism, and my base is a triangle. So I've got two bases, two congruent bases, they're triangles, and they're telling me that this is 5.5 inches, this is 4 inches, and remember a triangle always has a height that meets the base at a right angle, 2 inches. So here, I'm going to draw my base. My base is this triangle. This is the base. 5.5 inches with a height of 2 inches. So now we're having to find the area of the base, but it's a triangle, so it's not length times width. It's a triangle, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So 1/2 5.5 times 2. So 5.5 times 2 is 11, and half of that is 5.5 inches squared. So now the volume is the base times the height. My base is 5.5, and this is the height. If I put the base flat on the ground, this would be the height. So it's telling me my base is 5.5, and I've got 4 of these stacked on top of each other. I've got 4 bases stacked on top of each other. So the volume is 22 inches cubed. So here, volume is not length times width times height. It's actually 1/2 the base times the height times the height. So that's why we don't say there's an exact formula for finding the volume of a prism, because depending on your base, the formula changes. So the best way to think of volume of a prism is always the area of the base times the height. The area of the base times the height. Because finding the formula for the area of a base changes depending on the shape of that base. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. This is the nuts and bolts of what we're doing today. So the volume is always the area of the base times the height. And the formula for the area of the base depends on what shape you're dealing with. The area of a rectangle is length times width, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So here we have a rectangular base. So the area is length times width, which is 48. This, we have 15 of these. 15. We have 15 bases stacked on top of each other. So it is 48 times 15. Now, we have a triangle base. Here's a triangular prism with a triangle base. And the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So the area of this triangle is 5.5. And it's telling us we have 4 of them stacked on top of each other. So it's the area of the base times the height. So that's what we're doing today. We're finding volume of prisms. It's the area of the base times the height.